Welcome to Speak of the Devils, the premier podcast for Sun Devil football. I'm Brad Denny with 3TV.
And I'm Joe Healey with DevilsDigest.com.
Joe, spring ball is now officially behind us. We're about to go into the dark sea that is like the summer months where there's actually just absolutely nothing going on. But we can't embark upon that voyage without breaking down everything that just happened over the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, before we jump into those dark days of summer, we got to wrap up spring ball with an illustrious panel of guests here, and maybe good luck, Sun Devil fans, because it's the same assembly that we had to begin last season. And oh, by the way, we all know what happened last year, so we got to, I'm a superstitious guy. I got Irish heritage, right? You know what I'm saying? So we got to keep it going with this round table here to talk spring ball.
All right, so of course that includes to my left, the great Hod Rabino. This is, I should check the spreadsheet, like 107 or something, appearance number 107.
When you got this many, it's like, you're a professional. You just let the others worry about it. You let the jackloaders of the world worry about it.
Been there, done that. Act like it
belongs. And then, of course, Jordan Hamm, Sports360AZ. Welcome back. Good stuff. Not quite 107, but like you're almost like to the 5-timers club now.
To 2, but I'm coming for you, Loader.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. Well, there we go. Feels like it should be more. All right. So we are, of course, going to break down all the happenings of spring practice, the position battles, not nearly as many as this time last year, but still some important ones to break down, some key developments, guys who really improved their stock, some guys that maybe have some catching up to do over the summer months. But before we dive into all that, folks, the NFL draft is also behind us. Some pretty big news. Cam Scadaboo, he's a New York Giant.
Man, that was because we were all watching and wondering where he was going to land, of course. And, not really thinking it was going to be a first rounder. I think some folks in the second round, but when you get in the third round, that's when you're really thinking. And so we had to kind of wait an extra day to see that happen. But, it looks like a pretty cool landing spot. It's a franchise that has been struggling, but has obviously had, success throughout the years. And I don't know a ton about their depth chart, but just looking through it, it doesn't look like they have, any superstars at running back. So the opportunity should be there. A huge market for him. And with that being the case, you see some cool like social media posts and things, just kind of the fallout or, in a positive sense was a cool thing to see on Saturday. And in a positive sense, not having to track whether a guy's going to be picked in the fifth round or the first round or top 5 or whatever the case may be. That was obviously a entertaining weekend for all of us. But biggest thing, of course, to see that dream come true for him was an awesome thing. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of merchandise sales for the New York Giants coming out of the state of Arizona and other places where Sun Devils reside to support Scat all the way.
Yeah, just like we all foresaw, Scat getting drafted before Shador.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just really shows that if you're a low drama or no drama guy off the field, it does pay off. I mean, I don't want to get into the whole Shador tangent. I mean, I think everybody and their mother has talked about it at this point, but, we just have like meat and potatoes, no nonsense guys like Cam Scadaboo, and that really fits hand to glove with a team like the Giants. So really good for him. I'm not shocked he was in the 4th round. I've been saying all along that he had a chance to be in the 3rd round, but 4th round is probably where it's going to be. A little surprised that a guy like RJ Harvey from UCF got picked way ahead of Cam Scadaboo, but
and that would have been a good thing. That would have been cool because aside from support of the team, whatever, if he would have gone to Denver playing with Bo Nix.
Oh, yeah.
That's like your Kenny Dillingham,
Special
combo. You can put that right at the forefront of ASU publicity there for recruiting for sure.
Yeah, but I just feel that just the way Cam Scadaboo really carries himself, really just made ASU proud. I think he'll make the New York Giants proud again. I think it's really about the fit. And sure, you like to be drafted higher for prestige, for a little higher paycheck, but also I think you can definitely rise and fall depending on the team that picks you. And I think Cam Scadaboo really has a great fit.
Well, and with every interview that I see from Brian Daboll, I'm like, of course he's going to love a guy like Scat, of just like this hard nose, just try to run you over type running back. And then you also look at all the running backs from the Big 12 that got taken this year. Like I think it was 25 total running backs in the draft, and I think it was 8 came from the Big 12. So just a loaded class this year, and obviously the reputation that they have of running the ball certainly rang true this year.
And some other Sun Devils are also getting a chance to head to Sundays, though not necessarily through the drafted ranks. Xavier Guillory, the speedy receiver, is heading, unfortunately, for me at least selfishly, to Baltimore. Great landing spot, obviously, one of the best teams in football. And as well as Lee Fatanu heading to the Detroit Lions. So a couple of Super Bowl contenders there. Emmett Boley, as of this recording, is heading to minicamp with the Bears. Jeff Clark is heading to a local tryout with the Cardinals. And I think that's it as of the time of this recording. So, because Shamari Simmons, as we were talking about before recording, still out there for one lucky NFL franchise.
And I think it's a theory is that his agent is really playing hardball, just really trying to get the best free agent contract possible. Now, you got to be careful because I don't know if that line has been crossed where, like, you may end up with nothing or just for a much longer wait. But, yeah, I think Shamari Simmons, that's definitely an eye-opener. I don't know if in a good way or a bad way, but definitely an eye-opener that he has not latched onto any team until now. I mean, Lee Fatano and Xavier Gallery, great players, but I think all of us at this table would agree that we expected Shamari Simmons to be signed before those players and maybe on paper a better NFL prospect than those other players. So a little surprising, but NFL's a crazy business.
Yeah, it's been a kind of a curious deal for Simmons. I mean, between getting snubbed out of anything from the Big 12 in terms of the postseason accolades, and now this, it's kind of like folks are forgetting that he exists. And talk about Fatano going to the Lions, going into the draft, because I didn't really have a rooting interest in it. And I was thinking that could be a cool landing spot for Scat, just based on like Dan Campbell and Cam Scat, who like in the same room would just be like liquid or personified caffeine there. And so now is Melquan Stovall, is he just moving on in life to other? I know I've seen about all the things he's got planned. I mean, is that a
that's
thing, because I know sometimes that happens. You think about other players throughout the years that it might sound odd that they didn't move on to other levels of football, but I think they just kind of make the decision that it's kind of time to hang it up.
Yeah, I would say it really would seem that way, because I think for Monday after the draft, you're not signed unless it's Shamari Simmons.
Right.
It's probably down in the cards for you.
And he's got some big goals too. I think like, was it Secret Service or something?
CIA cybersecurity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's big time stuff for sure.
I just wish he walked away a little more accomplished with like,
right.
It's just 2 master's degrees and all these things off the field. So
he and Ben Coleman, man, these guys are just stacking them up.
All right, so the moving on to what's happening currently for the Devils. Now, the transfer portal ended on Friday, April 25th, kind of coinciding with the Fan Fest and the conclusion of ASU's spring practices. As we talked about, Joe, not a whole lot of players, or really any, in the too deep jumped in, and I think that speaks a lot to the Sun Devil culture. Now, ASU did make, as of today, Kenny Dillingham's birthday, so some good presents for him. We got a couple of commits from Iowa State. Hode, what do you know about the Helton brothers?
Yeah, first of all, really interesting story, because those are 2 offensive linemen that ASU did pursue out of high school, and their high school is Corona Centennial, high school that has been very, very kind to ASU. Will Sutton, Vontez Burfict, Brandon McGee, just to name a few.
So more Matt Lupick is happy with these pickups, I'll tell you.
Matt Lupick is probably still happy. So you have Wade Helton, 6'5", about 300. He's slated to play center at ASU, and I think it might create I'm not going to say a dilemma, but we talk about Ben Coleman being at center, and I'm sure we're going to talk about later when we go into depth. Ben Coleman did okay at center in the spring. Rough start, but I think ended on a much stronger note. I think ASU was really trying to identify that true backup center, and Wade Helton, at a minimum, can provide that. But now you kind of wonder that maybe Marcus Arroyo in his mad lab of schemes might say, if Wade Helton really plays very, very well in fall camp, not that I'm really disappointed with Ben Coleman, but if Wade Helton is a better center than Ben Coleman, let's move Ben Coleman back to left guard, where obviously he excelled last year. Now, this is just a theory. I don't think anybody is implying that that's going to, definitely be the case. Wade Helton did redshirt at Iowa State. I think that really was an interesting pickup. And his twin brother, Brent Helton, again, 6'5", 300. He's more of a guard prospect. Just kind of ironic. Those guys were recruited heavily by ASU, by the staff, by the way. Got to see from the sidelines ASU demolish the Cyclones in the Big 12 championship. So offensive line, was somewhat of a need, not a dire need for ASU, but I think that's really one heck of a pickup. And again, I just love the storyline of that pipeline to Corona Centennial still being alive under Kenny Dillingham.
And that was a recruiting win over a big-time conference foe. It's my understanding that
BYU.
they beat out BYU for both of them. So that's, a win on many levels for ASU there. And yeah, good to see that pipeline back up, because, man, there was that time period for, 3, 4, 5 years under, Dennis Erickson for the most part into Todd Graham. When you had Brandon McGee and Shelly Lyons and Vontez Burfict and Will Sutton and Good old Ryan Bass.
Ryan Bass,
What could have
yeah.
been, you know,
Throw
and
him in
some
there.
others as well. Yeah.
And the wins weren't necessarily limited to the transfer portal on the recruiting trail. There's obviously a huge recruiting weekend for ASU, and the fruits are already starting to bear with 2 4-star commitments, starting off with running back Carde Mack, and then followed up today, happy birthday, Kenny, yet again, from Georgia, wide receiver Nayland Scott. So a couple of blue chippers already, and they might not be done.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Cadre Mack. I mean, anytime you're top 60 in Texas, top 20 among running backs, that is definitely not a small feat right there. And again, that Texas to Tempe, I mean, just give ASU credit. They keep on getting a lot of prospects from Texas, and they're not just getting a guy that just happens to live in the Lone Star State. They're getting top 100 prospects time after time after time. So a big recruiting win over there. And Nayland Scott, a wide receiver, who ranks also top 25 in this position, also top 25 in the state of Georgia, had pretty much 24 offers just from Power 4 conferences himself. 6'2", 200, somebody who runs a sub 11-second 100, runs a sub 23-second 200. But if you watch his tape, I mean, it's not just a speedster. It's somebody that is going to relish in contact, making plays in tight spaces. That is really just one heck of a pickup for ASU. You know, I mean, I do like the wide receiver group, and I know we'll talk about that later on. But you know, you can have a wide receiver group where 2 or 3 starters, Malik McClain and Jordan Tyson, can be gone after this year. Malik McClain obviously is a senior, so he'll be gone for sure. But if Jordan Tyson declares for the draft, now you got a lot of nice, you know, young players. But which of them are going to step up in 2026? Not to look too far ahead. You know, that's something that is definitely on the minds of the ASU coaches. So they're not just taking wide receiver just to take a wide receiver. They're thinking that somebody that can really contribute, maybe as a true freshman. And also, I think in the transfer portal, they're not done recruiting wide receivers. Also, really thinking to the future, not only to the immediate need, but Nayland Scott, that is one heck of a wide receiver pledge for the Sun Devils.
What's interesting for me with Mack is he played quarterback last year.
Yeah.
And he's obviously coming in as a running back, but you're starting to sense a pattern with some of these commits when you look at Cameron Dyer from last year and they said, oh, we're going to move him over to wide receiver. They already have him back at quarterback, at least in the short term. But to have guys that can kind of process and play multiple positions and take on so much and then be highly productive as well, I think those are the types of minds that the Hines Wards of the world, the Marcus Arroyos of the world are trying to track down in prep recruiting.
And when all 4 of us were talking here in the preseason, I think we all agreed that the eye for talent for this ASU staff is just off the charts. When you look at recruiting classes, when you look at transfer portal classes, the number of misses is so minuscule compared to the bullseyes. So, I mean, I think this staff has earned a lot of goodwill and is earning a lot of benefit of the doubt when you look of them getting a pledge either from the transfer portal or the class. So, you know, if you're an ASU fan right now, you better trust their judgment because they have not failed you, to say the least.
And you got a running back, formerly played quarterback. It's not like ASU doesn't like to throw the ball from the running back position. I think we've seen that a time or two. And when you see these, it really makes you think that the word of Sean Aguano is getting out, if it's not out already. I mean, it seems like the kind of the worst kept secret locally. I mean, for my money, he's among the very best, if not the best, running back coaches in the nation. If you look at what he's worked with and been able to do that year after year after year, it's incredible and great to see the success that he's had at ASU, being the local guy and the only holdover from before, and to have the run as interim head coach and still be such a massively integral part of this program and its success and its resurgence, because without him, I don't know that you're seeing this program in the same place that it is.
And I know some people were saying that when Kenny Dillingham decided to retain Sean Aguano, it was just throwing him a bone because he was the interim head coach after Herm Edwards got fired. And I never bought into that nonsense. Kenny Dillingham, especially the defensive mind that he is, he knows way better than that. He knows the history of Sean Aguano. I mean, no coach or coordinator out there that didn't work for ASU followed ASU as closely as Kenny Dillingham. So you don't have to sell him on Sean Aguano to keep him on staff. It was really a no-brainer. It wasn't just because, he has in-state connections. Like you said, Joe, his lineage of running backs is just really off the charts. And ASU is absolutely very, very lucky to have Aguano on staff.
So some good stuff there, some good traction for those future Sun Devils. And Now head to the huddle at doublesdigest.com. Get some heads up on some more guys that might be joining the Maroon and Gold here pretty soon. But fellas, it's all right. It's time. Let's talk spring football. Let's run down the positions. Starting at quarterback, not nearly the drama as this time last year. But now, of course, they have an established starter, not just an established starter, one of the most hyped young players in the country. Jordan, how do you think Sam kind of looked now, saddled with the weight of these expectations now with all the Heisman talk beginning to start to percolate a little bit, compared to what we saw last year, a guy who was new here and starting, in the middle of a three-way battle?
I think it's really important. This is year 2, not only with him in Tempe, but him with Marcus Arroyo. And that shorthand is really continuing to develop. And they're now talking about, the nitty gritty of the footwork and the little things that he can do to take himself from really, really good last year to then build upon that and make some of those throws that you have to make if you're going to be a Heisman contender. So the fact that not only he stayed, but Jeff Sims stayed, it's so funny you use the term not dramatic, because that's literally the first thing I have written down. Not dramatic offseason, and that's a really, really good thing.
Yeah.
That you have that continuity, not only for the top 2 quarterbacks in that room, but also as the coach that's overseeing all of that.
So for the folks that saw a certain social media post after the Friday night practice, are those stats real? I know people were doubting them.
I don't know if he threw that much, but
because it was like 6. I mean, I get that it's not an actual game type situation.
Look, my understanding was it was only 11 on 11 reps. There was some live tackling. Okay, I'm not going to totally downgrade it, but was it a really controlled 11-11? Obviously, you can't sack Sam Levitt or rush him really hard. I mean, sure, that really goes into place when you just think about the whole context. But yeah, I agree with Jordy that Sam Levitt, definitely showed that he's ready to take that next step. The coaches talked about him really improving his quick game, really just being more crisp with his decision making. And I think Sam Levitt definitely was able to do that. He did start spring on a slow note, and I think Jordan Tyson being injured pretty early in spring and missing several practices to follow definitely affected him, because just think about the chemistry they had to develop with wide receivers that he barely played with even last year. I mean, besides Malik McClain and maybe Derek Esubio to some extent, there really wasn't any receiver on the roster where you could say, okay, Sam really had some kind of connection with him. So I think that really contributed to everything. But Sam Levitt definitely found his stride, and I think is ready to take that next step. But I would be remiss if I'm not going to talk about Jeff Sims. And like I already said in my post FanFest video, no, there's no quarterback controversy. Okay, so let's just put that right on the table. But I think ASU has one heck of a backup quarterback. I'm seeing a different quarterback than I saw when he started at Cincinnati on the road when Sam Levitt could not play in that game due to injury. Now, the burden of proof is still on Jeff Sims, because I think all of us remembered last fall camp, Jeff Sims started on fire. And then Cam T was his kryptonite for some reason. So I'm really curious to see if that does or doesn't happen with Jeff Sims. But his spring was outstanding. I would even say it was slightly more consistent than Sam Levitt, if you want to be honest about it. But it's really huge to see Jeff Sims play as well as he did. And if you had to make a list of players that the coaches are really, really happy that were not tempted to leave by the portal, I think Jeff Sims is in that very, very short list, because if he left for the portal, ASU, I think, would be in a world of hurt trying to find somebody that would be as good as Jeff Sims in the portal. So I definitely tip my hat to Jeff Sims. He played excellent. Sam Levitt is still the guy. But I think in terms of backup quarterback, unless there's not the meltdown of Cam T that we saw last year, ASU is going to have one hell of a backup quarterback. Hopefully you don't need him, but it's good to know that you're going to have him.
Now, with that, that's still a question that's on a lot of minds. There's still a lot of, that battered fan syndrome is still there, even after a playoff appearance. And, of course, we can't fully predict the future, but you got a guy like Sims who has starting experience at 3 different, power conference teams. He's got 1 season left to play. Very plausible that there could be a team that either has a quarterback injury or just a deficiency at the position that say, hey, man, come here, start for a year, be our guy. Again, we can't predict that happening, but from what you all see and hear, is there anything that would lead you to think that might be the case?
Look, I mean, I know that maybe fans are kind of sick of hearing about the team culture and how good the players have it at ASU off the field as much as they have on the field. But I think that is what helps keep a guy like Jeff Sims. Because you're right, Joe. I mean, he can go as a graduate transfer. He can go to the portal tomorrow. He can go in the portal on July 15th if he wants to. I mean, sure, those are the rules, and it's college football. I mean, at this day and age, you never say never. But I just feel that with all the intangibles, in place, having one of the best offensive coordinators in the game in Marcus Arroyo, if I'm Jeff Sims, even though you're promised a starting job, I would think twice, 3, 4, 5 times before you make that move, because life is good for you here at Arizona State, and there really is no guarantee that you're not going to have a pro career just because you were a backup quarterback at Arizona State. I think you're going to have a chance to showcase yourself, when you have your pro day, maybe even get some workouts with some teams. I mean, sure, you don't have a lot of film to show, but I think that, if he continues to progress the way he does, I think that things are going to work just fine for Jeff Sims. So it's really not broken for him. Don't fix it.
But for Sims also, he has a heck of a lot more tape than any other typical backup quarterback.
Yeah.
He has 3 years of starting experience. It's certainly not your traditional route. If he were to go to the next level, it's usually kind of flipped. It's the inverse of that. But he's talked a couple times about the development from Kenny and from Marcus Arroyo of that. Where else can you get coached up by these types of guys? So yes, things could change really, really quickly, and the right situation pops up, and who the heck knows? But this is a discussion that Brad and I have had on the sideline during practice a lot of times. Of okay, what do you think it would take for all of a sudden these sorts of the ground to shift enough where all of a sudden Jeff is now considering leaving Tempe?
And I think in terms of the biggest personnel questions, there's no competition this past year, is kind of the depth after that, which is probably a good thing. When you're worried about your number 3 rather than your number 1. But spring open with Michael Tollefson getting the 3 reps just did not look good. I mean, he's a true freshman, so of course, some growing pains are to be expected. Navi Bruzan ended up taking the rest of the 3 reps throughout the spring. He's in the portal. And Cam Dyer, as you mentioned, is coming back from an ACL tear. Now, you hope you never have to worry about your QB3, but how concerned are we about the depth? Assuming that, in the worst case scenario that Sims does leave, or there's 2 rolled ankles in front of, Tollefson or whoever, it could be a situation where that could be a disastrous scenario for ASU.
So for me, I mean, I think it's screamed to me, go get somebody from the portal and get somebody that is maybe, in their second year at the college level, because I think that that's an easy sell for the staff. Okay, Jeff Sims, whether he stays or, if he leaves, obviously that's an opening. If he stays, he's a senior. He's going to be gone. Sam Levitt, as we're talking about, and I know we're hot and cold on PFF sometimes, but they seem to like Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson, that's for sure. Projecting them to be both top 10 picks, I think, in next year's draft. So you could be in a situation where the coaching staff could approach a young quarterback at the college level now and say, there could be a spot 1 year from right now where you can at least compete for a starting position. And that's something that I think, again, you can sell to a younger guy to have that depth, because if either of them gets dinged up, which, by the nature of the way that they play, it's possible. It happened with Sam last year. It could happen, again, to where they could be elevated in short order. So I think that you can sell that. Again, we don't have a lot of conversations about QB3 and that being a major need and that sort of thing, but we the last couple of years before last season really proved to Sun Devil fans that even though you don't always prepare for those contingency plans, it's good to have them in place. So for me, I think that's just go do it. Like it's a really clear opportunity for them.
I mean, I think the staff did look when the portal was open to get, like you said, to your point, Joe, that the young quarterback that knows they have an excellent opportunity in 2026 to be the starter, with Sam Levitt possibly gone, and obviously Jeff Sims definitely gone. But right now, with the transfer portal come and gone, I don't know if there's really still a quarterback out there in the portal that would really fit the description that you're describing. And if you're going to get a graduate transfer, well, you're not getting that young quarterback, right? Which graduate transfers really want to come here and want to be the number 3 quarterback. Again, it's college football. You never say never. If ASU adds a graduate transfer quarterback that comes over here, knows he's going to be a number 3, is totally cool with that. I mean, sure, I think that is definitely a possibility that would happen. But look, unfortunately for ASU fans, they saw what it looks like when you're down to your number 3 quarterback. The season's pretty much gone at that point. So is that something that's really keeping Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo up at night, that number 3 quarterback? I'm really not sure about that.
All right, so let's move on to running back, where there might be a little bit more drama in terms of obviously who's going to fill the shoes of Cam Scattaboo. So some very large shoes indeed. Now, this could be the year we see a committee. I don't know. We still haven't yet. Is this the year of the tight end? I don't know. But we did see some good performances. I thought Kyson Brown and Raleek Brown, of the three top, presumed top heading in with Kanye Udo, the transfer from Army. I think Kyson and Raleek were just kind of, a cut above. Obviously, Kanye, I think, still learning. He looked better as practice went on. Perhaps, feeling more comfortable. But Jordan, what did you think in terms of like who really jumped out to you and perhaps is staking their early claim in this, committee or not, backfield?
In the second half of last year, we saw the strides that Kyson Brown made. And was it always pretty? No. I think he'd be the first one to say that UCF game he would have done a lot differently. But you see him in the U of A game. You see him in some key moments late in the year. And then he's just parlayed that and changed his body physically. He came in, and that was one of those ones that was like, oh, you've lived in the weight room here the past couple of months. And I think that's translated on the field as well. So he's a guy that we've always talked about how smart he is and how he's always looking to adapt. And, it felt like he was on Sean Aguano's hip the entire spring, just like trying to take in as much as he can, get as much feedback as he can to really be that well-rounded running back that ASU is looking for. And look, he's always been the home run hitter, but now you add a little bit of savvy to him. Like, I think he could be very, very impressive. But again, this could be the year that all of a sudden, the pie isn't 90% RB1. And then, you kind of sprinkle it. You got to figure out a way to get Raleek Brown at least 10 touches, maybe even more. You have Kanye Udo, who is very, very experienced. So how does all of that kind of get divvied up? I think that's where Marcus Arroyo is going to get really, really creative to try to get these guys the ball.
Yeah, Raleek obviously has such an explosive element and also some power we saw throughout the practices, which is a nice component. But, the question with him, can he stay healthy? Can he be a guy that, you can give 10 touches to consistently on a week in, week out basis, but a guy who has shown that he can carry a load? Kanye Udo, where do you see him fitting in so far? Is this perhaps, over the summer he gets a little more comfortable and he really makes that stakes that claim in fall?
Yeah, I think fall camp is really going to be really, really huge for Kanye Udo to see how much he really can push Kyson Brown for reps. I mean, I know Raleek Brown, yes. I mean, he was only second to Kyson Brown in performance, and maybe that gap is much smaller than people think it is. But I think, that maybe the ASU coaches would want to have Kyson, Kanye, and then Raleek, more or less in that order. Don't forget that Raleek is going to be the kick returner. Might be the punt returner between him and Jalen Moss. That remains to be seen. So you want to go ahead and maybe keep some kind of pitch count with Raleek Brown. And to your point, Brad, I mean, he really needs to stay healthy. And maybe the ASU coaches, I'm not going to say are conservative, or maybe they're going to have a little different approach of how much are they going to put on Raleek Brown's plate, because there really is no reason to put that much on his plate, I don't think. So I'm really curious to see if Kanye Udo is somebody who's going to get a lot of reps, and maybe only second to Kyson Brown. But it really just depends on fall camp, because if we're going to see in fall camp what we saw in spring, then yes, I think Raleek Brown is going to be the number 2 guy after Kyson Brown. That's not saying it's necessarily a bad thing, but if the health of Raleek Brown doesn't hold up, then ASU is really going to find itself in somewhat of a conundrum.
Yeah, and Kyson Brown, I'm sure, is going to be a real under the radar kind of guy on national type of levels, because those shoes are going to be among the biggest in the nation to fill. And locally, folks that have seen him play know that, all right, he's ready for this step, but there are probably going to be a lot of questions from the outside. So we'll see, the magazines and the previews and all that and that sort of thing. So there's going to be a spotlight on him, but that's an opportunity for him to really show what he's got. And man, he impressed with it. The U of A game, or was it Wyoming or Mississippi State when he had the near 70-yard, catch and run? Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, he has shown it. And he's the kind of guy that, obviously a lot of personalities, a lot of human beings that you cheer for in this program. But when you see someone that comes into the program from the high school level and sticks with it, even if he's not the guy, that to me is really commendable. You look at the Trenton Bourguets, the Caleb McCulloughs, those wall-to-wall, door-to-door, whatever the word is that we use to describe them. That for me is something, again, really, really worth supporting. So it's great to see, because he was a name that I was just personally highly concerned in the various transfer portal opportunities that he might be someone that looks at another opportunity, especially bringing in Connie Udo. I thought that was almost like a writing on the wall type of thing, but that's clearly proven to be not the case. And as the offseason progresses, we get to fall camp. Just seems like he's aiming to be the guy.
And I don't mean to oversimplify it, but just today, I think it was USA Today came up with their preseason poll, and ASU came in number 21, fourth among the Big 12 teams. And I don't want to oversimplify it, but Cam Scatterbo not being there is the reason. End of story. Because you got Sam Levitt, you got Jordan Tyson, you got a defense that is absolutely stacked. It was easily one of the best in the Big 12 last year. It's all about the running back. So I don't know if Kyson Brown is somebody who needs press clippings to get motivated, but I would definitely show him that. Say, hey, Kyson, you see the running back position and the lack of faith that the national media has in you is why ASU is considered, at least by one publication, pretty notable one publication, to be the fourth best team in the Big 12 next year.
Probably people that really legitimately only watched the Peach Bowl and saw that, because I mean, my goodness, we can get into some nerding about it, but there are a lot of Big 12 teams that have some very significant departures, be that BYU, Iowa State, ones that are up there. I saw that they're kind of taking a flyer on Kansas State. They're saying we're expecting Avery Johnson to take this big leap. So that's a little bit of just kind of a projection, but I think that there are some schools that people don't know how depleted they really are, because they may not be, even though they're departure to the draft, they just might not be those household names like ASU had in Scatterbo.
It's really interesting, because there's so many people externally that just see the loss of Scat, and you replacing a player, you're not going to replace Cameron Scatterbo, but perhaps in the aggregate, maybe a Moneyball approach, you can replace that production. It's not out. You're presumably going to have more of a threat. People are going to be keying in on Sam Levitt in the passing game a little bit more. So to have a bevy of talented backs, and another guy that we should mention, I don't know that he contributes this year, but I was really impressed this spring by Demarius Robinson. Man, living up to his name. This dude loves blitz pickup. He just has a tremendous one, but also just, he's explosive, had some good runs, some physical runs. I mean, I don't know if it seems like 4 games, redshirt, postseason or something, maybe, but maybe there's, I don't know. Like, he was just really impressed. Every practice, there's like 2 or 3 moments where I'm like, damn, all right.
I was semi-shocked that he passed Jason Brown in the depth chart, because I love Jason Brown. I thought like maybe he didn't show that many flashes, but the flashes that he showed last year was like, wow, this is the future for ASU. And then Demarius Robinson comes in and is like, maybe he's the future for ASU. And I think both of them would be, running back by committee in 2026, 2027. But yeah, Demarius Robinson definitely impressed quite a bit. I don't know if he really came in with as much fanfare compared to other true freshmen, but he was easily one of the biggest surprises among the true freshmen. I'm just really curious if Jason Brown is just like seething until August to show like, hey guys, don't forget about me. So that could be one heck of a battle for the 4th-string running back, which may not sound like a sexy position battle to fans, but I think that's gonna be really, really interesting to see. But kudos to Robinson, first ever spring practice, like Marco Sororo said. He should be preparing for his senior prom, not running over people here in practice every day. But sure enough, he did it.
And we're not talking about a Kalen Balaj size guy. We're talking about a 5'9", 180. So just giving every ounce of what you got.
The bit of Cam Scatterbo's game that I see in his is he was looking for guys to hit. When the pads were on and it was 11 on 11, he was running up the sideline. It wasn't, I'm going to try to gain a couple and get out. It was, no, I'm going to lower my shoulder and I'm going to try to, deliver some pain here on my own team. So, the man, a perfect nickname for him. He has certainly lived up to it.
All right, so moving on to wide receiver. Now, Jordan Tyson, I believe in the second practice, tweaked his ankle a little bit. Obviously a guy you don't need to throw out there. So he missed most of spring, just, sitting out. He was there cheering on his guys, instructing folks and being a part of the team, participated a little bit lightly near the end of the last couple practices in those team sessions, but generally opened the door for some other guys to make their mark. So let's start off with one of the under the radar stars of spring, Harry Hassman, folks.
Again, the eye for talent of this staff is just unbelievable, because he definitely came under the radar. That is one of the last true freshmen that I thought was really going to make somewhat of a name for himself, maybe show a flash or two. But my gosh, how do you keep this guy off the 2 deep right now? I mean, that is a huge good headache for Hines Ward and Marcus Aurora.
Because in the last like 3 weeks of practices, when they would divide up kind of like the guys you expect to be in the 2 deep that would catch passes from Sims and Levitt, and the rest of the guys, presumably for the scout team, Haspin every single time was in the guys that are going to be in that 2 deep. And of course, anybody at the Fan Fest saw that one-handed touchdown catch. Really, really impressive. But obviously, he's going to, not necessarily the guys that are going to be at the top of the depth chart. We should start there. Malik McClain, last year's fall camp star until he decided to, or until the decision was made to redshirt him, and then he made his mark in the playoffs, and both the postseason games there. What do you guys think of McClain? It seemed like he had some good moments, some chemistry developing. Still some moments where it seemed like the concentration might be a little bit lacking.
It was an interesting spring, and I think this is the one that, for me, I'm so intrigued what fall camp looks like for him, what early season looks like for him, because you did mention there were some where it was what we saw last year at Camp T, where he was just putting on a show, and then there were some moments, and again, very good secondary that he was going up against, but some moments where he'd like to have some of those back.
Yep.
And so you have a guy who's built like Mikal Bridges out there, and like, how can you utilize him, and how does what does a full season look like for him? That's what I'm really curious about, just where this goes, because you don't have a guy that's many guys out there in the world that are built like that and have that skill set and that eye to get the ball. It's just figuring out that consistency to make him that consistent target for Sam Levitt.
And we've seen it. It's very small sample, but those catches that he made, the one against Iowa State was one of the better catches of the year. Sure. And obviously that reception that he had ran for a touchdown on the pass from Cam Scatterboot. So we've seen, okay, this guy can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done it at other levels. He's been at prominent schools, Florida State, Penn State. And so that's why it's, tantalizing and kind of a tease, like you're talking about, like going to keep an eye on him, because that potential is there. And that's, following after a guy like Troy O'Meary of a similar physical mold that had that potential, but didn't really live up to it. So yeah, this is going to be one of those guys that's going to be really, really intriguing to see. And the team will be so much better off if he's a consistent player week after week.
Yeah, I think there's no reason to think that he could not do even slightly better than Xavier Guillory. And if Jordan Tyson's going to put up the same numbers, then there's no reason why he can't. There's no reason to think why Malik McClain can't put up the same numbers as Xavier Guillory, or maybe even surpass them. So I think if that's really the bar that you're looking to clear, I think Malik McClain can definitely clear it. Like you said, Joe, he showed some flashes in the postseason. Maybe it wasn't a whole lot, but somebody had to step up when Jordan Tyson was not there. And Malik McClain was definitely one of those players that did step up. I know Xavier Guillory stepped up much more, but obviously he had the benefit of playing many more games than Malik McClain did. But McClain number was called. It was there, and the Bruce Willis memes were there too. So maybe they'll make a comeback this year.
There you go. Hey.
All right. So, obviously probably the biggest storyline, outside of, the Jordan Tyson injury, but the trio of transfers coming in from some pretty high profile programs. Jaron Hamilton, all three of them, I would say collectively kind of, start off a little slow, still getting their feet wet, but really kind of really improved, especially Jaron Hamilton. I thought the connection, we saw a number of deep connections with Sam Levitt for touchdowns throughout the course of the last couple of weeks. Jalen Moss was running with the ones at slot pretty much the entire duration of there. Noble Johnson has had some moments. He's probably with the youngest of that group, or around the youngest. Some good moments, kind of some like Malik McClain, some issues with drops at times, but obviously a guy willing to block, a very physical presence there. Impressions of the transfers that we saw so far in those 15 practices.
I think Jaron was one that there were more moments with him where it was like, oh, he is making it very difficult to keep him off the field. And it was really fun because I don't know if this was by design or just coincidence, but him and Rodney Bimage went head to head a lot. And Rodney was one on the other side that had a great spring.
Yeah.
And it was one of those where sometimes Jaron got the better of Rodney, and sometimes Rodney got the better of Jaron. And I guess that's a good thing to have. But he was one that I think from day one to that last spring practice, it was like, oh, we've seen the transformation. He is very comfortable. He's talking to Hines all the time, trying to just, and you saw the intensity throughout each practice. But in terms of Moss, what I heard when he came in was just like steady presence, very reliable. That's pretty much what I saw throughout the spring was that. And then, like you said, Noble had, I feel like there's a lot of growth ahead of Noble.
Yeah.
But you can see those moments, and, kind of cool for him that the first jersey he ever bought growing up was Hines Ward, and now he's getting coached by the guy. So yeah, we go back to the evaluation and how can you find the guys that maybe are ready right now, maybe ready a year from now, the growth that you can see. I think all three of them are in kind of different places, but you can see that potential for all three of them.
So if fans are saying to themselves, okay, we know what we got in Jordan Tyson, and we know that he's got a very, very high ceiling, but we also know that Xavier Guillory and McClain Stovall really came on last season and were integral parts of this offense, obviously, especially down the stretch when Tyson was injured. How do you look at this group? Maybe not necessarily just the transfers, but just those guys that are potentially filling those shoes, and how comfortable should Sun Devil fans feel in this wide receiver group this year compared to last year, or is that still kind of TBD?
I think depth-wise, it is going to be a deeper wide receiver group. I really do. I feel that, Jalen Moss is somebody who I think on paper can be better than McClain Stovall, and I liked what McClain Stovall did throughout the year. I mean, we talked about Malik McClain. I think he could definitely put up the same numbers as Xavier Guillory, probably even better. And that really comes down to the backup. So Derek Eusebio obviously came on strong late last season. So for him to be the backup slot, I think he's just be more comfortable in the system is going to be fine. And if you have again Jaron Hamilton and then Noble Johnson / Harry Hasman, I think if we just look at those 6 players in the 2 deep, I think it's better than what ASU had last year. Maybe not head and shoulders better because there's a lot to be proven over here, but there's no reason to think why Sam Levitt is not going to enjoy maybe a little more of the tools that he has at his disposal. We haven't talked about tight end yet because I think tight end, when it comes to the receiving game, is definitely better than what ASU had last year. So, yeah, I think this wide receiver group can turn out to be really nice and a better one than it was last year.
And I think Zechariah Sample had a really, really good spring. Every time I looked up,
Yeah.
he was making a diving catch or a physical catch, and you just see that incremental growth each kind of season that we get with him, whether it's in fall camp or spring ball or that sort of thing. So he's another one. And Corey Butler, I think, stepped in. We talked about Corona Centennial. He's the one that kind of re-sparked that pipeline a little bit. He seems much beyond a true freshman that probably should be, like we said, going to prom right now. He came in. He's a really polished receiver that I think you can see some steps really happen for him the next couple of years.
I'm not sure he would go to prom because, as Kenny said, his GPA was higher than his 40 times. So maybe not. Maybe sit the prom outhouse.
So despite this and talking about the depth, it still is a position that ASU seems to be looking into the transfer portal on and have been, whether it's a guy like Jonte Cook that just didn't seem to be a great mesh for the culture, or someone like Marion from BYU where ASU just went head to head with some tough programs to get. So that seems to be there might be some information forthcoming, but they're still going after it.
Yeah, I think just they want to go ahead and really. I'm not going to say just take a collection of players, throw them on the wall and see what sticks. And that may be like a crude way to describe it, but maybe practically that's kind of what's really happened. Just really get as many players as possible. I'm sure you guys talked about in previous podcasts about the scholarship limit going up to 105. So now you just have just so much more bandwidth just to add players and just see exactly who's going to work out. So you can add another wide receiver. Yeah, the Helton twins on defensive line. You got fall camp. Obviously, you got the off-season strength and conditioning program to go through, and you just see how everything does sort itself out. Maybe those transfer portal additions can be impact players in the 2 deep, and maybe it's really just building for the future for 2026. I mean, especially with the Helton twins, because you look at ASU and on paper, at least 4 of their seniors and possibly all 5 of them are the starting 5 for the offensive line. So you definitely have to think about 2026. That doesn't mean you're not going to add any players from the transfer portal, but when you get the Helton twins, those are players that maybe are going to save you from taking 2 extra offensive linemen in the portal. This time next year. So I think that's really the thinking over there. So again, with wide receiver too, I mean, if they get another wide receiver in the transfer portal, maybe it's somebody that's not going to contribute right here, right now. But if they're going to get who I think they're going to get, and he's going to have 3 years of eligibility, that is definitely building out to the future. So I think fans just really need to think about that when they look at these transfer portal additions, that it really is a lot of building for the future. And again, when it comes to this staff and the way they construct a roster and the way they evaluate talent, they definitely earned the benefit of the doubt that they're on the right path and they know what they're doing.
Well,
So
a couple of years ago, Jordan Tyson was one of those transfers this time of year, where it was just, we're just going to take not a flyer is a little simplistic.
But coming off an injury.
Yeah, coming off an injury. And we're looking for a high impact guy that maybe can't help us this year, but down the road, I think he's helped, so.
Well, even a guy like Mateer was a spring edition last year.
Yeah.
I mean, you can
post spring edition.
Yeah.
All right. So heading over to the tight end group. Was any position as collectively impressive as tight end in spring? I mean, when you look at Shimon Mateer, granted, he and some of the other top guys didn't play as many reps by design. Staff knows what they have in them. That opened the door for guys like Kamari Anderson, AJ Ia, monster. Cam Hartpole, I thought he was making a lot of obviously a guy who has done more in the blocking in the trenches, but I thought he really was kind of impressive as a receiver. But man, that top trio of Mateer and Anderson Ia, that's got to be so fun if you're Marcus Arroyo to just be scheming what I can do in 12 and 13 personnel.
I don't know if there's a true freshman that at this position that's come to ASU with this kind of hype and has, actualized it in short order, or at least in the opportunities he's had. I don't know if you have since Zach Miller, realistically.
The way it was described to me, he played in the Trinity League, which is considered to be the best high school conference in the state of California, and he was voted MVP. And I think Jason Mon said that he doesn't think any tight end in the long history of the Trinity League ever got voted MVP. And you're dealing with that. That's with Monterey and Sarah. I mean, just all the heavyweights of Southern California and that. And if you're a tight end out of all positions and you're winning MVP of that league, then you are special. So to your point, Joe, I mean, you can come with all the accolades, the 4 stars, top 15 California, whatever. But to really hit the ground running already in spring practice, we're not even have to be waiting for fall camp to see what AGE can do. That's really incredible. But I don't want to overlook Kamari Anderson, because I think under the radar, that might be the transfer that ASU landed in this cycle. Much better than Marcus and Douglas. He has the size, he has the receiving skills. Again, don't want to sound like a broken record, but man, just kudos to the staff for identifying a transfer that did really close to nothing at Kentucky. And granted, the scheme that they run there or don't run there for tight ends definitely affected his numbers. But man, what they saw on film, they just absolutely hit a bullseye. I mean, to have like Brad said, Kamari Anderson, Shimon Mateer, and AJ Ia as your 3-headed tight end. Maybe we see 13 personnel this year. We have to go back, like I said, to the Miller days to see that with Jamal Lewis.
Oh yeah.
So
names there you go.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
he's in commercials now. You can't turn on the TV without seeing that dude.
Yeah, but honestly, I mean, I think this could go down as the best tight end group this century again, and they have some pretty high bar to live up to. But just knowing their talents, just knowing the innovation of Marcus Arroyo, just knowing the elite coaching skill of Jason Mons, I mean, it's just like a perfect recipe for one heck of a tight end group.
No position group has transformed more this time last year to where it is now, because you teased it. Shimon, he announced his commitment 2 days before the spring game last year. So they really didn't have a spring session with him at all. He comes in, he's all Big 12. You bring in Kamari, who just has a different gear.
Yeah.
And, it felt like every time we'd look up in 7-on-7, 11-on-11, it's like, oh, there's Kamari on a seam route, and that's a touchdown. Okay. And then AJ comes in and, he talked a lot about, I was really only a receiving tight end, and I've added a bunch of weight, and now Coach Mons is working with me in the blocking. And then Hartpole, as you mentioned, he, I think, is a very underrated part of this run block that they have. And Mons is very quick to always recognize that when we talk about this room. But what was the linebackers jumping from 23 to 24, I feel like the tight ends are the jump where it's 24 to 25. And now you just have these monsters in this room, and it's going to be a challenge to find a way to get all of them the ball and highlight their skill sets.
And it was just astonishing to me what they've done in the last year, because not only is it these additions, but it's just a complete overhaul of the position group. If you think about going into last year, You know, you had Messiah Swinson, you know, after the 23 season, who was out of eligibility. Jalen Conyers transfers. Then Bryce Spears is going to be the guy. He was a Sunday guy. We heard about it.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes off to UCLA. And he got a rookie free agent deal, but he didn't have that incredible of a season. And so you just pretty much deplete the position group. But then you refill it. It's so much better than you could have ever imagined. And I just looking at the profile for AJ, and dude's 6'6" and 255. He's the tallest and biggest tight end on the roster, as you know, a guy who should still be in high school, which is just freakish stuff. And I think also, I'm just rambling here, he has to have, if we're calling, I don't know if AJ stands for something or if AJ is his birth name. He has to have the shortest first and last name combination in college football. I don't even think it's, I mean, I know there was like T. Lee, like a one letter for the first name, but if anybody out there has someone that has
forgot about
fewer than 4 letters in his first and last name, I'd like to find it just highly efficient.
I mean, you just Sun Devil science on that one.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But going back to my earlier point with Sam Levitt, and it's like having more tools at his disposal. I mean, you know, we talk about replacing the rushing yards of Cam Skattebo over 1,700. You got to replace also the 700 yards of receiving that he had. Now, I'm not saying Kyson Brown is not capable, along with Malik Brown, to combine to that. I mean, that's definitely possible. But if you're just looking okay for that added element that you're still trying to replace what Skattebo gave you, I think just having the tight ends really being able to rack up those receiving yards on each game, I think that's going to be really huge. Just in the whole transformation of this offense, who obviously involved Shimon Mateer in the tight end position quite a bit last year. But man, whether it's the loss of Skattebo or just having all these studs in the tight end group, I mean, they're even more incentivized, I think, as a staff to get this tight end involved that much more in the passing game.
And we kind of talk about it in a similar context, like the running backs talk about, will this be the year that it's a by committee approach?
Mm-hmm.
Last year, Mateer had a very good year, was all conference. But Marquiston Douglas, who again is in the transfer portal, I noticed, I think had 1 reception. I know Harpole had the one, I think Texas State, that the turf monster got him. He should have walked in for a touchdown. Harpole's got a role on this team. He's someone that I got a lot of respect for. But again, it was a good amount of catches, then major drop off, similar to the running back where it's a lot of carries and then a major drop off. But this, I mean, you got to get these guys the ball. But that's the perfect thing as you're ushering in this new era, this post-scat era. And I think one of the bigger questions for Sam Levitt, didn't really bring it up in the quarterback part of it, is that transition for him where he doesn't have that proven, the guy that can take over a game and get you what you need whenever you need it. That's out of the lineup. There's still a lot of talent at running back, but you just don't have that piece. So things are going to shift more onto Sam's shoulders, I think, to be that leader. So when you have not only one all-conference caliber tight end in Mateer, but a couple guys who could sound like they could contribute at that level, that's, you know, the perfect prescription for that scenario.
All right, so tight ends, very impressive collectively. Offensive line, let's discuss. Ben Coleman, as you mentioned, heading over to center, and there were some snapping issues that were persistent throughout spring. Not just limited to him. I think all the centers at various times, even Jeff Simpson was, working with the second team at a number of times where he had to reach down his ankles or jump up ahead of him. And of course, that moving over from left guard, that opened up the competition there. Sean Jameto Obibo got most of the competition there. It seemed like Obibo had like 1 or 2 false starts at practice. It seemed like over time. Maxi Hanachor had missed all of spring, recovering from injury. Jalen Clem got the lion's share there. Kyle Scott was steady at right guard, and Josh Atkins at left tackle. Well, it's kind of the 2 guys that were back in their spots. But other than that, it seemed like a lot of mixing, matching, some experimentation, some battles, just overall, I thought, as we'll talk about, with the defensive line having a great spring, I thought the offensive line was a little up and down, at least in terms of, some of the other position groups that we saw.
I think it's one of those things too, where like now's the time to experiment. Like if you're going to put a guy out of position and just see how he does, maybe it's a little bit in fall camp, but spring is when that's the time for it to happen. And to that point, kind of similar, I felt like at the beginning of spring ball with Sam, where he's trying a couple different things. Like it looks a little bit different. And I think maybe he's trying a couple things on for size, but it really is an interesting puzzle. Where is it? The best offensive line is with Ben Coleman at center, or is it better for him to be at guard and have maybe a less experienced center in there. And one of the few positions that Kenny spoke to about the transfer portal was guys who can snap. He didn't specify whether it was a center or a long snapper. Honestly, maybe both. And the way that the scholarships are going out, maybe it's a guy that can somehow, be that unicorn that can do both of it. But it's just figuring out what's the strongest domino that makes sure that everything goes together. So yeah, this was the group that I felt the most uncertain about, but I feel like that was also a little bit by design with some of the injuries and just the chemistry. Like there's a lot of mixing and matching that has to happen. And when you're going up against that D line that is still so experienced, even with the injuries that they had on the interior towards the end, like that's still a really tough group to go against day after day.
Yeah, and we saw like just some of the other, like Champ Westbrooks was playing both left and right tackles. Andrew Ruggiero, the youngster, the transfer addition from Nebraska, getting a lot of reps with the second team at left tackle. Mixed results, we'll say. Just obviously, again, going up against that defensive front, it's hard. And it was kind of, I think, a similar discussion last spring and last fall. The ASU defensive front was winning more often than they were not, and they were had taken to the offensive line throughout spring. But overall, what was your impression takeaway about where things are currently right now? Even though we with some key guys out and some guys that are trying out new spots.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, like I said, you would have all 5 seniors be probably the starting lineup, but with Mexa Inshore, being out with injury and Ben Coleman moving from left guard to center, then yes, he had all this experience, but things were just kind of, I'm not going to say just turned upside down, but definitely experiencing a big period of change. So maybe, the acclimation process overall was just a little harder, for everybody. You mentioned Jalen Clem. I mean, this is a guy that obviously, unfortunately suffered a stroke 1 week before fall camp, did not play the whole year, did come to practice, I believe, the last month and a half of the year. So didn't come all that rusty into spring practice, but obviously, definitely had some things to figure out. I was happy for Sean Na because remember, he was forced into action as a true freshman at that game against Utah. We lined up at left tackle against that Utah defensive end. The name escapes me right
John
now.
Ellis or something?
Yeah, because then his dad was Luther Ellis was the coach, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like
found out on the plane ride over.
Yeah, exactly. And he definitely had a rough day in the office, but the whole team had a rough day in the office that day. So
that was a Jacob Conover game, right?
I believe so, yeah. And that was, but good to see Sean Na, who redshirted last year. And I know like fans think you got to redshirt Sean Na because he played as a true freshman, didn't have to. And ASU was able to accomplish that and still have one heck of a year. But Sean Na is somebody that, could be the backup center, maybe even could be the starting center at this point if you're ever going to move Ben Coleman back to left guard. So I just feel like there were some, moving pieces over here, even though there's a lot of experience on the team. I'm just curious to see how fall camp just really shakes out for this team. Again, can the Helton brothers, make any kind of impact and maybe make the group overall better? I mean, that's something remains to be seen. I mean, they both are redshirt freshmen, so let's not, treat them like, fifth year, seniors or anything like that in terms of experience. But, when we talk about the inexperience on the team, Matai Jefferson and Manamui Muti, 2 true freshmen who I thought really turned some heads in spring practice. So, we look at the foundation and the future of this group. I really think it's in good hands. But, the here and now is obviously right now more important. So just really, really curious to see how they do shape up in fall camp. But I agree with you, Brad. It wasn't a horrible spring for the offensive line, but definitely was not stellar compared to other positions on offense.
Yeah, Mekhi Stewart, 6'6", 330, the true freshman, was running with a second team.
350 on the website. We'll see what that's a large
heaviest player on the team.
Oh,
freshman, yeah.
All right, yeah, and I mean he looked agile, like some definitely a lump of clay that Saga Tuatele will be happy to mold over the next couple of years and real force there. But as we'll see, there's a lot of some pieces that they're missing and are different spots. So we'll see, exactly how things shape up over the coming months. Switching over to the defensive line that we talked about, that really was feasting kind of throughout spring practice. Now, the depth was on display. I mean, you lose Jeff Clark, and that's your only really departure from the 3 deep from a season ago. But even though that Jacob Kangaika was not participating throughout spring as he's making his way back, CJ Fight missed kind of seemed like the back half as he's coming back from a minor or something. Zach Swanson dinged up a little bit, but he looked really good before injury. So as you mentioned, the depth on the interior. Now JP Dieter, is leaving in the portal, but still that defensive front and the veteran nature of that was just kind of feasting throughout. Clayton Smith looks bigger, like the next iteration. Like he's perhaps ready to take that step. Maybe he becomes an 8-sack guy finally after a couple seasons trying to knock on that door. Even like the first guy off the bench and Justin Watley, I thought to me was just outstanding, both against the run and the pass. Then some of the depth guys, Roman Petrie, I thought a good spring. Albert Smith had flashes as a youngster, but man, I just was really impressed by just what this defensive line was able to do. So many guys are now in their third year in this system. I think this, the pass rush issues were something that we talked about back half of last year, all off season long. Don't want to get ahead of myself, but it seems like the pieces are in place now that we could see some better production.
That was gonna be my number one question, and I'm sure fans who are really in the know are wondering if that aspect will improve because man, guys like Clayton Smith and Dorba and others there know that they've got that potential and they've shown some flashes, but you got to get past like that 4-sack number, and like you said, I mean, you really got to teeter more toward double digits. So you're feeling optimistic is what you're saying, cautiously, so maybe?
Yeah, I am, but then again, it's kind of like I think we talked about it last fall in kind of a similar situation. How much of it is the defensive line being really good? Maybe the offensive line still trying to figure stuff out in terms of just like, because both the quarterbacks were under duress. We didn't see consistent huge gains in the run game. To be fair, we didn't see that in fall camp last year, but Scat had the year that he did, and they even said at times during this spring that perhaps this is the best defense that the offense will face all season long, and it might be. But then the defensive front, I think, has the potential to finally get over that hump, and I think they had 27 sacks last year, and perhaps be much more disruptive.
And believe it or not, they actually had 2 more sacks in 2023. And that's something Brian Ward.
Total sacks?
Total sacks, yeah.
Playing 12 to 14 games.
Yeah. Yeah. Look it up. That is something that's something Brian Ward even mentioned in the very last interview that he gave in spring practice. So he was encouraged by what he saw as far as the potential of the pass rush, but he was very, very TBD on this. Like, okay, I want to see more in fall camp. And obviously, I want to see it when the season starts. But yeah, but to your point, Brad, I mean, just really that quartet of Clayton Smith, Prince Dorba, Justin Watley, Elijah O'Neal, all of them seniors. They play like like a well-oiled machine, and that's exactly what you want to see. Now, yes, you just have to add that caveat that the tackles for ASU on the offensive line, it was like. Had good days, had bad days. So you'd have to take that in consideration. But look, I mean, they always say defense all starts up front. Well, if that's the case, then ASU is in really, really good shape because the defensive line just really, I think more than anything, is just really the experience. And you didn't lose anybody to the portal that would be a legitimate 2D player. I mean, JP Dieter. Kind of teetering second, third team, but otherwise, I just feel like the experience and the talent coming back is really showcased itself in the spring. Again, this defense absolutely loaded, and there's no reason to think why they will not even eclipse some of the numbers from last year, especially I feel in the sack department. But even if it's the same number of sacks, if they keep all the other numbers the same, it's going to be one heck of a defense like it was in 2024.
If the defensive line was feasting, Clayton Smith was Joey Chestnut. He just took over certain practices to the point where they were just kind of like, okay, go stand on the side. Like, we need to work on some other thing. You
go
were
play offense.
Yes, you were doing exactly. Yeah. Go play tight end. And who knows? In Marcus Arroyo's world, you never know that Clayton Smith could line up out there. But a couple other guys that I think really popped, Alfred Smith, Roman Petrie, like you said. Petrie's steps that he's taken the past couple of years have been really impressive. He told me he was a converted safety from the high school days. So you saw that athleticism. Now you see him with Joe Connolly get that defensive line, like full-fledged build. And you really saw that. And it was an opportunity for him to kind of do that with some of those injuries along the defensive line. So if they can stay healthy, I think that this is going to be a much improved group. And Elijah O'Neal, he was a guy that we all thought wasn't going to be here this year. But because of the JUCO waiver, now he's able to be back. And this is an opportunity I think he's really taking seriously to, he saw that glimpse. What was it? Last fall camp, they said he's the most improved player and those strides. Now his feet's under him, and now it's time for him to go.
Yeah, I think he ended up tying for the team leading sacks 4.5 or leading or somewhere about
And
there.
was
He was
leading
right
for a while,
behind.
yeah.
I think he was at 4. And
You
Clayton
got
was at
a couple
4.5.
against U of A, so flashing a little bit at the end, and so yeah, the depth and talent level and certainly the experience is there. All right, moving on to linebacker, and I don't know if this was just kind of more of just the, I don't say status quo is the right term, but just like obviously a lot of familiar faces are back. They're more comfortable. They were played faster, and they were just rock solid. I think you have Jordan Crook and Keyshawn Elliott as your starters. That's really good. Both of them were really good. They're both in their second year, where Brian Ward likes to say the players understand the why, and really just you seem like they're smoother and faster. You have Cyrus Fiaseu, who's some great experience depth there. Youngster and Martell Hughes coming up, and just overall, I thought you have you're winning a lot in the trenches, and then you have this wave of linebackers coming in for if you're AJ Cooper and Brian Ward. That's a really good position for the Sun Devil defense.
And like we talked about, the onus of responsibility is just get that wall-to-wall consistency. Keyshawn Elliott started, gangbusters last year. I don't say flatline, but he just didn't finish the way that he started. But then you had someone like Caleb McCullough who really skyrocketed. So you just had different, one guy might be up, one guy might be down. But if you can get kind of that season-long consistency, because Elliott brought so much from New Mexico State, and he started off looking just incredible. So that's there, and he had a very good season. Then Crook came on, after a few games. I believe he was injured at the beginning of the year, and he really exploded. And then you still got guys like Tate Romney. If he's your third string linebacker, you're in pretty good shape. And Hughes, I keep saying that, man. You could really tell that just that one special teams play really created some confidence in him and showed that he can make an impact at this level. And he kind of took off from there. And so that could be a catapult for him. So, man, for a team that runs two guys out there more often than not, you're going 3 to 4 deep. When you get the freshmen in, there's quite a bit there.
It's really that unit has been really boring in every good way. Like you said, just like
that's the word. That's not status quo. Yeah, like good boring.
Yeah, they just play well. You expect it. Maybe you shouldn't take it for granted. I think Kenny Dillingham said last year that if there's one position group that never gets on the naughty list of being late to class or being late to this or just not fulfilling an assignment, the linebacker group is the only group consistently never on that list. So again, boring in a very, very good way. Not exactly what blanket or whatever, but 2026 is going to be huge for this linebacker group. I mean, they got 4 seniors right now: Crook, Fiaseu, Elliott, and Crew Jackson doesn't play that much, but still a depth player. So really curious to see what this group does look like in 2026. But in 2025, at least in the Big 12, you put this linebacker group gladly against any other linebacker group, even having that one less in the scheme of a 4-2-5. This is just really, they always talk about linebacker group being the heart and soul of this defense. Well, this is one heck of heart and soul to have, and to have Keyshawn Elliott, getting instructions through his helmet. That is definitely one player that you're happy that he's the leader of this defense.
And Jordan Crook, in the back half of the year, I think we all realized how well he was playing, but then you look back and you're like, oh, he was kind of taking over games at times and had some massive plays. And I feel like just wasn't talked about as much as we probably should have in the moment. And now kind of throughout the spring, just the steady presence he brought and the kind of the ferocity to that defense. But I mean, I'm kind of now just preaching to the choir of just like the depth of this group and the fact that they were able to bring all these guys in and they had multiple years and they all stuck around. I think that's a massive achievement for this coaching staff to, have all of them involved and want to run it back in the way that they did. Cause I don't think we could knock any of these linebackers for saying like, I want to make sure I'm getting 80% of the snaps or whatever. Just the way it worked out, this group is staying. And one thing AJ Cooper told me towards the end of spring ball was like, they still have that chip on their shoulder. Cause I asked him like, you've had an off season of like, everyone's giving you your flowers. Like, how is it? He goes, oh no, they talk about the Texas game all the time and they are still mad about it. And they still have that chip. So like, that's a group you don't really have to worry about in terms of motivation for this upcoming season.
Yeah, the Werewolves, as they like to call themselves, I think are in store for a big year ahead. All right, so let's move on to safety. Obviously, you have Xavier Alford and Ghost on the back end. They're good. They are what they are. The nickel battle was interesting to me. So we want to get you guys' takes. Montana Warren got the 1 reps throughout most of spring ball, pushed by Kendrick Breedlove, the Purdue transfer. I don't know. I thought that Breedlove, especially late, was making a run. Not that Montana Warren was necessarily, but I don't know. He didn't jump out to me as often as it was like, oh, and making my practice notes, play by plays, and whatever. I had Breedlove's name down there way more than Montana Warren. Maybe that just, I don't know. Maybe that's just being simplistic, but he just really popped to me as he found his comfort level, like those transfer wide receivers. But then, of course, like Boogie Wilson, the transfer, I know has the potential that could play nickel and factor into that battle as well. But where do you guys see? Because there's really not a whole lot of starting jobs were open on this defensive side of the ball. But obviously, losing Shamari Simmons, huge blow to any defense. So this is going to obviously be all eyes on this battle at nickel.
Yeah, I mean, I think replacing Shamari Simmons is just as challenging as Cam Scatterby. And I think the offense maybe can figure out ways to work around the loss of Scatterby, but the loss of Simmons, that to me is definitely unknown right now in terms of what's going to happen in the nickel position. I mean, I know Montana Warren has the benefit of being in the system longer than Breedlove, obviously, who is a transfer from Purdue. I think maybe Breedlove being injured, late in spring practice, maybe gave Warren a little more confidence that they actually needed. Con McDonald, who played quite a bit, actually did not redshirt because he did play nickel last year. He was injured pretty much for all of spring. So really, I mean, it was there, to your point, Brad, for Montana Warren just to grab it in 2 hands and go in as a clear leader into fall camp. And right now, I don't know really if that's the case. Like I said, Boogie Wilson, who missed spring due to injury, if he suddenly becomes a player right now in fall camp, and maybe Breedlove, now that he feels more comfortable going into fall camp, maybe he can make a move. I think that could be one of the most heated battle, maybe the heated battle in fall camp is going to be that nickel position. And whatever drop off ASU does or does not experience because of the loss of Simmons, that might determine not everything, but quite a bit when it comes to this defense being even better than they were in 2024. Because as we know, there's so many returning pieces, so much talent around them. But is the nickel going to be that thorn that's really going to stick out there, or is something that they're eventually going to figure out just because they have pretty good players, but they just need to find that one alpha male that can come as close as possible to Shamari Simmons, because I don't think he'll be able to duplicate him 100%.
I think that this is the position battle. Everywhere else I look, unless it's an injury related type deal, everything seems pretty locked in. And it's one of the rare situations where the youngest guy has the most experience within the system. So how does that translate? How much were those other transfers able to catch up, even if they weren't necessarily on the field? Is there a guy on the outside that can bump inside all of a sudden? Because there's a lot of depth at cornerback too. So how does that look? I think that this is very, very intriguing come fall camp of, like I said, not a ton of spots to give up or fight over. And that is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I'm really eager to see what Boogie Wilson can do when he's healthy and ready to roll. There were some big time programs that were after him in the transfer portal, and he put some stuff out there at Washington State. So that's one that I'm just really intrigued to see when he gets out on the field.
And so some young safeties I thought made their mark because, as mentioned, the staff kept some of the top line guys and reduced their workload a little bit. But some of the younger guys, some converted young corners, and Chris Johnson and Tony Lewis and Kuba saw reps there. Jack Ball I thought had some moments, but Chris Johnson I thought was like a really outstanding addition. After the spring game, I asked Kenny, because Kenny had called out the young guys throughout a couple times throughout spring of just like, I want to see more. I don't want to see I'm happy to be here, though. I want to have young guys tell me I belong. And he cited Chris Johnson specifically as a guy who answered the bell in that regard. So I was really happy to see him. He was flying around and delivering some big time hits. So I think, obviously with guys on the way out and Alford and Rouser, near the end of their eligibility, I think the future on that back line is looking pretty good.
I think so with, like you said, just the way that the last couple weeks you saw Johnson he just looked a lot more confident out there. And it wasn't so much like I'm worried about not losing an assignment. I'm going to go make a play. Like there's a very distinct difference between I'm not trying to make a mistake to I'm going to go try to force the other guy to make a mistake. And I feel like with Chris, that happened over those last couple of weeks of spring ball.
All right, so let's move on to cornerback as we finish up the defense. And Javen Robinson missed most of spring. Kind of a similar situation to Jordan Tyson. Nothing major. He's out there a little bit. I thought that Keith Abney, I think, continues to level up. But Jordan, let's talk about maybe the breakout star of the spring, Rodney Bimage. What did you see from him?
He had just this swagger, each and every day. And like I said, he was going head to head with a lot of these guys. And in some cases, he was a little bit outsized. That didn't matter. Keith Abney, too. He was going up against Malik McClain a lot. It felt like it didn't matter at times. So, but just the way Rodney came in, and I think he saw an opportunity with Javen being out of just like, I'm going up against a couple guys that maybe I typically wouldn't be, or maybe I'm in the one team, and I usually am not. I'm going to go ahead and take advantage. And it wasn't just like flashes; it was just consistency that was perhaps most impressive for Rodney.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the 2 deep, no question about it. And like now the question is, now that he's established that, is he going to push one of the top guys? Maybe not, but still, the fact that he has played with that confidence, playing that with that swagger, that physicality, was really impressive to me. As a young player, and then unfortunately, a guy also in that same year in Plas Johnson suffering the knee injury. I thought he was in line to make his name, so that's a huge hit. But I thought Nyland Green bounced around a lot in his career, but I thought by the end of camp, we saw some up and down. He was dinged up and missed some practice, but I thought he came on strong a little bit. So it seems like that could be the top 4 of the position as we head into summer.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think ironically, maybe tragically, even when Plas Johnson went down, I felt that's when Nyland Green really ascended. Maybe just felt less pressure. Like, okay, I'm not gonna pass around Rodney Bimage. Plas Johnson was really my competition. Now Plas Johnson's out of the equation, so I'm good there. So, in a weird way, ironic way, however you want to phrase it, it did help Nyland Green to play better. But I think it's a pretty established 2 deep right there. Javon Robinson and Keith Abney, I mean, they showed a lot in 2024. Again, you go back to the lack of pass rush that ASU had last year. I think that even highlights how good Abney and Robinson were, because it's not like they were getting massive pressure, from the front that really caused quarterbacks to make some dumb mistakes just because of all the pass rush that they were receiving up front by the defensive line. So I think that is one really, really good 2 deep. I mean, you like to see more from Nyland Green in fall camp, but as far as Abney, Robinson, and Bimage being your top 3 cornerbacks, that's a pretty good group there.
Yeah, I think the combination of Abney and Robinson, I mean, for all the improvement that Levitt and Jordan Tyson had over the course of the season, and for all the headlines that Scadaboo got, and all of that deservedly so, their collective and individual improvement from the beginning of the season to the end of the season was very, very remarkable. Nyland Green is just someone that, man, like the measurables and on paper, it's tremendously intriguing. He's 6'2". He was a former 5-star by at least some folks, bounced around a little bit. And so again, you just see that and you're wondering if they can just kind of click the dial in the right spot and get the most out of him in the final year. That would really be something. And great to see things with Bimage, coming in the direction that it is. Obviously, you lose LT Welch from that 3rd cornerback position, but by all accounts, it sounds like that these guys are prepared to maybe not only equal what Welch did, but maybe even surpass it and have a few years, especially in the case of Bimage. I mean, his full career ahead of him.
It's kind of wild to think last year how few snaps Javen Robinson and Keith Abney had going into the season, the amount they played, and how high, like we were saying, oh yeah, this is a inexperienced but really talented group. We'll kind of see. There were very few moments throughout the year where it was like, oh, there's the inexperienced moment. Yeah. Like they were super consistent. And then so just to have that and now depth behind them, like that's incredible for Coach Carrington.
All right. So before we kind of wind down with some spring winners and some questions going forward, let's talk about one of the big pickups. Joe, I know this is a guy that you're very fond of. Jesus Gomez. Man, he was good. He was real good.
It's what you love to see, right? And that was something that, I know a little bit shaky, it sounds like, in the early going, but man, I mean, with the credential and the experience that he has from Eastern Michigan, and theoretically playing in some tough environments just in that part of the country, and some of the numbers that he put up, I mean, 55 plus yarders each season he's been there, just exactly what you're looking for in that sort of pickup. And it's borderline impossible not to improve in the place kicking, but to swing it from just taking away from liability territory, moving that to, okay, just generally consistent to maybe being a potential strength, or at least someone that you can count on, especially for those 40-ish yarders that just it's hard to think of the last time that really felt confident with the place kicking in 40 and beyond. I mean, you may have to go back to Zane Gonzalez to get that level of confidence. If he can be that guy this season, I mean, that could be the difference. The win-loss record could be, largely affected by what he does.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about Jesus Gomez. His first 3 ever field goal kicks against ASU in the Eastern Michigan upset that ended Herm Edwards' career. You talk about things coming full circle. And just happy
when schools retiring numbers, you should just retire his number right away with that sort of thing for having done that.
And also happy for him, on a personal level. His family from Mexico, so I don't know how many road games they made when he played for Eastern Michigan, but it's a whole lot easier now to cross the border at a quick trip to Tempe to see him play. But yeah, I mean, sometimes football really is that easy. You got somebody that came with huge accolades. ASU thought, okay, this is the end of the tryouts. Haha. We got the place kicker that we wanted, and here it is. And maybe Ken Dillingham is bummed that he can't go for fourth down on the same frequency like you like to. But just to have that steady force, and I think even going to see a better Jesus Gomez in fall camp, because again, there is acclimation to go through and everything, even though he's a senior. But that's one guy that came as advertised. A lot of surprises in the transfer portal, a lot of surprise true freshmen. This guy, huge expectations, delivered and then some.
It's interesting you say, Kenny might be bummed about the fourth downs, because he's after I think it was a practice during the second week, one of the first. It was one of the night practices that he talked about in the pre-practice meeting, that he mentioned that about the 38 or the opponent 38 on fourth down, we're going to go for it. He noticed that Jesus' face kind of like he's like, well, unless you can make it. And he's like, I got you, coach. And then during that night's practice, from about 58 yards, they gave him an opportunity and he nailed it. So this is a kicker with legitimate 60-yard range.
Yeah.
There have been practices where my back is turned to whatever is I'm grabbing a new battery for my camera or whatever. And the special teams portion comes up, and you can tell when Gomez is kicking versus somebody else. It just sounds different.
Yeah.
And there is a boom to it. And, in the spring showcase, he's from the pitchfork and he hits it, and he could have done it from 10 yards further back, So like you said, like the as advertised, the position of focus for so many this offseason. Granted, it's spring ball. It's a small sample size, but it feels like they have delivered on getting that guy in place.
I don't know what the elevation is in Eastern Michigan, but ain't the 1,000+ feet in Tempe. So he's probably loving that too.
Yeah. Add a couple extra yards. All right. So as we wind down here, let's talk about some of the guys. We run down the positions and some of the key developments there, but let's say maybe winners or guys that really impressed you, maybe relative to expectations, whatever your own criteria is. Jordan, start us off. You just throw out some names of guys that you thought, of the good performers throughout spring were among the best.
Yeah, and I feel like we've talked about quite a few of these guys already, but the Kamari Anderson, AJ Ia tandem, just your mind starts to kind of wander of like, what can this offense look like when you know who you have in Shimon Mateer, and he could have an expanded role. I think you could pepper him for 7 targets throughout a game. But then you start to add those other elements, and especially, Kamari Anderson's big play capability and the catch and run where he's separating from defensive backs. That was one that, right off the jump when you gave us this category, I was like, let's just go tight ends right here.
Yeah, I have that right there amongst my list here. Just I cheated a little bit. I put 5, but then I put them like as a combo. I had one guy that I think deserves a little bit of discussion. I mentioned him earlier. Roman Petrie was just like really impressive, and like whether it was against the run or the pass, especially some of those more veteran DNs got some veterans reps off. He really made the most of it. And one thing I really impressed me is he had some Cam Hayward in him. Like, okay, if I'm not going to get to the passer, arms up. And he probably had by the end of spring like 6-7 passes deflected at the line of scrimmage. So I thought that was one guy that really jumped out to me. We already talked about Bimage. Mekhi Stewart, I thought, especially in the one-on-one drills, the pass rush, the offensive line, defensive line, really jumped out to me. And I don't know, maybe he has a role as a kind of in that rotation, and not often you see true freshman offensive linemen make that jump, but obviously that size, 650 or 350. I mean, he's got to have to hang in there.
Yeah, I mean, I know some guys we mentioned earlier, Jeff Sims. Like I said, I was just really, really impressed. I know that that Cincinnati loss, definitely did affect them, and maybe raise questions like, okay, can this really be the backup for Sam Levitt? But if there are any questions going into spring practice about Jeff Sims, I think the questions are pretty much non-existent. We talked about Demarcus Robinson at running back. Again, just really impressive to see a true freshman that didn't come here without a fanfare like an AGE play the way he did. Kamari Anderson, I think it's an absolute godsend at tight end. When you try to replace Marcus and Douglas and you get a player that, no disrespect to Douglas, but like a good 2-3 levels better than him. That's really a.
He'll probably have more than one catch, 3 yards.
Yeah, I think it was at Texas State too, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it was pretty early in the season.
Yeah, just a little more than that. On defense, I mean, I don't think any name that hasn't been mentioned already. Rodney Bimage and Chris Johnson obviously really jumped out. The most out here. I'd say that Cannon Floyd. I mean, I know we didn't mention when we talked about special teams. I think he showed definitely some improvement. Maybe just got all the freshman keeks out of his system. Just really being more comfortable. And again, maybe forcing Kenny Dillingham to go for less fourth downs. Which again, good thing, bad thing. You can make up your own mind. But I think Cannon Floyd did show. I'm not gonna say a jump, but definitely showed that improvement. I'd really like to see him do even more in fall camp. But he's definitely in the right direction. I think it was somewhat of a tough situation for him as a true freshman punter. But I think we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel of him improving in sophomore year.
So my perspective obviously a little different than the true professionals here. I have to rely on the services of these folks to get this information. But just to throw in a few additional names out there, I'll go back to Jesus Gomez because by my count, ASU played in the most one-score games in the Big 12 last year. They had 8 one-score games. They're 6-2 in that. I mean, you really think about how close this team was. I mean, they got it done, but how close they were to this not being the season that it was, and being even a couple clicks below that would be much, much less memorable. And you get Cam Scadaboo out. Obviously, he was the hero in many of those close games. So to have a reliable, proven place kicker that can hit not only from 40+, but from 50+, maybe even close to 60, I think that's just going to be such a huge asset. And I'll also throw Kyson Brown in there as well, because just for me, kind of from the slightly outside looking in, you see ASU go get Kanye Udo in the transfer portal in the very early stretch is one of those first guys that they got. That could really be, again, a writing on the wall type of situation where, okay, Scadaboo's gone. We're going to go get this, 1,100-yard rusher from a 12-win, I believe, Army team, proven commodity. That makes you think, okay, that guy's coming in here to be that number 1 running back. Brown, whether that's the case or not, whether it's a thought process or not, Brown certainly, accepted that as a challenge and has really made the absolute most of it and really stepping things up as folks have described here today. And, that sort of iron sharpening iron type of situation really seems to be paying off for him.
All right. So before we get to our questions going for the future, let's maybe name a guy or two that we thought maybe not necessarily, not a loser of spring, as we talked about our winners, maybe a guy that has some ground to make up that maybe perhaps didn't take advantage of the opportunity. I'll start things off. Jaden Fortier, I think, is going to get lost in this room as tight ends. Not anything like he came in as a 4-star. Obviously, he had the huge uphill battle coming off the knee injury. Great kid, but just you saw what he was doing in the spring, and I just think that I don't know if there's a hesitancy still coming off the injury or something. Like he certainly has some nice bursts, and some tools, but I just think that there's a situation where the AJE could pass him up some new faces in there. But this is a guy that not too long when he signed was a lot of excitement, a lot of hype that could be the future of the position, and then I think he's he needs a strong summer and fall camp to maybe prove that he's not an afterthought.
And I'll go with the guy of the same class, similar area of the country, brought in some credentials, Jason Brown. He talked about, again, he flashed what he did last year. Not a big sample, but he looked pretty good, especially even for a smaller guy. The way that he ran was really encouraging. Some of those other running backs, as we've talked about, really stepping up. Brown's got a world of talent, just a lot of competition there.
I'm going to go Malik McClain. I think he could be a complete game changer and we talked about that. You find the consistency, and this is very few people are going to be able to guard this guy one-on-one. And he's going to open up so many things. And we saw flashes. Now let's see it consistently. And you pair that with a Jordan Tyson and all the tight ends we talked about and all the athletes coming out of the backfield as well. Like, this offense is going to be humming. But let's see that. And we did see a more consistent version of that in fall camp. And that's the thing with a lot of these college athletes. It can be so fragile where one thing there's one little tweak in something and that momentum all of a sudden stops. So if he can regain that momentum here in the next couple of months and go into fall camp, this can be a very, very special offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys really stole my thunder and all the names I had in mind, but I don't know, maybe a little left field. Joey Sua at offensive line. I mean, not really a seasoned veteran, but somebody who I thought maybe could establish himself more in the two deep, and that really did not happen. And I mentioned to my subscribers that, if there's some kind of potential transfer list out there, I think Joey Sua might be, one of those players, stuck around, which is a good thing because he's still a young player at being a sophomore. But yeah, maybe one guy that I expect just a little more to show me in the spring. Maybe he's saving it for fall camp. We'll see.
Yeah, and to that point, because they brought in the Helton brothers, and they also have that Talomo's coming in from the JUCO level as an interior lineman. So there's some incoming players that they're even though there's kind of need for depth at tackle, a lot of guys in the interior as well. To your point.
All right, so as we close things out, a question that that we obviously don't know the answer to yet, but that the developments of spring either brought up or perhaps left unanswered. And for me, it's just pretty basic. How is this offensive line going to look, and is it going to be ready to go and compete for another championship? Defending the championships often harder than winning the championship. And with the question about the offensive line, whether the returning starters, we had questions about the tackles last year. Are they going to be able to develop enough? Where's Ben Coleman going to end up? The domino effect of where he is. A lot of questions about the offensive line. I trust Sagatua Tele to figure something out. I mean, after 2023, he can figure anything out. But I feel that at some point, with the tools at hand, he'll work something together. I just wonder, how is it all going to look, come August 30th?
Yeah, I think I'm a question mark that I mentioned earlier is really the nickelback. Just how does it all sort out? Can Boogie Wilson, who was injured in the spring, just come in fall camp and just really turn everything upside down in terms of the depth chart? Can Montana Warren, who's again the most experienced player at this position, can he really just take that next step and maybe put in the rearview mirror what was somewhat shaky spring? Can Rick Breedlove, again, just more acclimated now, can come in full camp and really make a statement early. I think those three players are definitely going to be in the mix. I mean, Kyle McDonald, I guess maybe outside possibility to make his name known over there. But I think it's the most no-brainer statement that the only weak spot on this very loaded defense is a nickelback, and I think that's definitely has to be the question mark on that side of the ball going into fall camp.
Mine is on an individual. What strides are we going to see out of Jalen Clem from spring to fall? The fact he is playing football is incredible. And the fact that he is back and, seems to have gained at least some of the weight back and, that sort of thing. And you wouldn't watch that offensive line and go, oh yeah, that was a guy that was out all last year. So what are we going to see from the spring to the fall? He gets more comfortable. Obviously a highly talented guy, has all the genes, has everything you want in an offensive tackle. What's that going to look like in the fall? And is there going to be some more rust that he needs to shake off? And is he going to be a short-term contributor, a long-term contributor? But I think if he's able to really kind of hit the ground running like this. A lot of these offensive line questions that we're asking, I think some of them can be answered.
So for me, I'm still going to stick with the pass rush and see how, that improves. And then like an honorable mention, and this is going to be more of like a season thing than a fall thing, but just, how does Sam Levitt respond to the expectations and the fact that he's a known commodity? I mean, I was thinking about it. I don't know that there's been a quarterback or really even a player that has entered a season for ASU since I've been following them that has the expectations levied upon him that Sam Levitt has. I mean, even Jake Plummer going from 95 to 96, I don't know if he was in that conversation. That fellow that transferred to LSU didn't really have that sort of thing going on here. Andrew Walter lit up a bunch of records, but he wasn't really being talked about as like a Heisman finalist contender entering the season. I mean, this is just a new level of expectation that we just haven't seen around here. You always have that dreaded potential sophomore slump, and it's not sounding like anything that's going on this spring is leaning toward anything but just him continuing to climb that ladder. But he's a known commodity. Lots going to be placed upon his shoulders, both as far as the expectations from outside and what they need him to do from within. So just continuing that trajectory is going to be obviously huge.
All right. I think that's a roundtable discussion in the books. I think we covered all the highs, lows, and intermediates of spring. A lot of good stuff, as always. I'd like to thank our illustrious panel. Jordan, for any folks out there who are not keeping up with your amazing work, how can they keep track?
All my work is at sports360AZ.com. We have a couple TV shows on various networks, including Arizona Family Sports, throughout the week and all that fun stuff. And then you can follow me on Twitter at Jordy Hamm.
All right. And Hod, I believe you got a cool promotion going on right now.
Yeah, really cool promotion. You can buy 1 month and get the next 3 for free. So basically pay $2.50 a month, and that gets you all through fall camp. So it's on our front page right now at devilsdigest.com. I know you guys talked about, the dark months, that not much going on. There's a lot going on when it comes to ASU and recruiting. So I think that, as a premium subscriber, you already got a heads up on some stuff that did happen and some stuff that is going to happen.
And you tipped off your subscribers about the Helton twins over a week ago, I believe.
Yeah, it was about 3-4 days ago. So yeah, that's the type of news you can expect to be a premium subscriber, and $2.50 a month. That's half a Starbucks. So I think it's a pretty good deal that gets you through the slow months of the season.
Deflation.
Yeah. No tariffs on the huddle.
No, not yet.
All right. So make sure you also are staying with the show on the social media side. Follow the show on Twitter at SOTD Podcast, on Instagram at Speak of the Devils. Subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, and give me a follow on all things social at BDenny29.
And you can follow me at Joe Healey 42. Before we get you out of here, huge thank you to all of our sponsors, of course, beginning with Hod Rabino and DevilsDigest.com. Echo everything you said. Get on in there. The pricing is incredible, and things are good. I mean, I'm sure like when you got a sale and a promotion when times are tough, but man, like there's never been a better time to be involved in this.
Baseball's winning.
Baseball, yes. And I'm getting optimistic because the last stretch of this season is not against a bunch of tough teams, and after they just knocked the ball out of the park like crazy against BYU.
That's crazy.
Hopefully things are turning a good direction, getting consistent there. So, yeah, get in the huddle on Devil's Digest, and, of course, support the other sponsors that we have: Cactus Sports, Jones Auto Group, Burrito Express, Spaghetti Shack, and Sun Devil Family Charities.
As well as Home Field Apparel. And make sure you go and get 15% off your first order at homefieldapparel.com using offer code SUN24, SUN24, 15% off. They have an amazing and very large ASU collection. Get ahead on your holiday shopping or just get ready for the summer. It's great stuff. Do it now. And also be sure to drop us a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice. Joe and I will be back at some point soon because, there's still stuff going on.
There's no other choice but to be here in the future because, we can't really go backwards. So, yeah, but we might have to have Hod on in the near future once again because the recruiting, it sounds like there could be more good news in the forefront.
Yeah, and I'm going to shout out also to Jack Loader, because with ASU baseball, I actually gave some really good insight on Luke Keisha, who, man, you talk about like hit the ground running, when you called up to the majors. what did he tie a record for stolen bases that was stood since 1901?
Yeah, some
something
really
Yeah.
kind of rare superlative that he's doing, and man, Torque's
Yeah.
doing his thing as well. So yeah, baseball's going all right.
All right, so yeah, we'll be back talking about good baseball.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Right
It's been a
on.
while.
Life's all right.